And our first speaker for the evening, Alissa works at a public media radio station with an aging audience. Her path led her to develop a public relations strategy to expand their listenership to a younger, more diverse audience. Let's listen in as Alissa shares how she developed her strategy. Presenting Cultivate Younger, More Diverse Audiences, Alissa VanDeman. Cultivate Younger, More Diverse Audiences, Alissa VanDeman.
How many of you here listen to the radio station WUSF 89.7, your NPR? Great, we got some listeners. How about anyone else listen to classical WSMR 89.1 and 103.9? Great. Well, those are the radio stations that I work for. Together, they are underneath the umbrella WUSF Public Media. We have a challenge that I realized Toastmasters International could help us with. I am a savant, a lifelong learner to find out new things and how to do what I do better. And Toastmasters, you've come to my rescue. Welcome, Toastmasters and guests. My name's Alissa. And the challenge that we've had, as Woodrow mentioned in my introduction, is that our audience is aging. We need to cultivate a younger, more diverse audience for sustainability so that those of you who are listeners can continue listening for years and years and years. Well, today I will walk you through a hypothetical public relations strategy to cultivate a younger, more diverse audience for the stations. They are a listener-supported service of the University of South Florida. Well, the audience demographic is something that we have looked at many times over the past with no real answers or concrete ways to change it until now, until Toastmasters schooled me. I learned how to create a PR strategy. It really is simpler than I thought. And I'm going to share it with you. There are 4 simple ways to create an effective PR strategy. You can apply them to anything that you have, any message that you want to get out to the masses or the community. I'll walk you through these steps and how you can apply them. There are 4. 1 is know your objective. 2, define your message and your audience. 3, disseminate the message. And 4, evaluate your efforts. So number 1, know your objective. So I had to whittle it down a little bit. I kind of spewed it out there and then, just kind of have to get specific. So what I came up with was educate, inform millennials in the BIPOC community who we are, but those people who aren't listening to us. So that's kind of our audience, and we want to let them know we're here to improve their quality of life through trusted news and information, jazz, and classical music. Well, why would anyone care that we're here? What's the benefit of listening? Well, that's number 2, about what's your message. The benefits of listening to WUSF 89.7 is that you will consume honest, reliable news. You'll feel smarter for listening. Mr. Toastmaster Woodrow probably has said that to himself or those he's talked to about this station. Listeners tend to say, what I heard on NPR, and it's information they can share to make more informed decisions for themselves and their families. Benefits of listening to jazz and classical WSMR is that music is an oasis, an escape. It's inspirational. Both stations improve your quality of life. The audience we would like to receive this message are the 18 to 49-year-olds and BIPOC individuals in the current broadcast footprint for each station. We cover 16 counties, so that's a lot of area. So I have my objective. I have defined my message and my audience. So number 3 was disseminate the information. Well, who am I going to send it to? Well, it's time to do a media research. I looked up radio and television stations that are primarily watched and listened to by younger audiences and people of color. According to blog.advertiseintampa.com, pop contemporary, hit radio, and adult contemporary are the top 2 music categories listened to by millennials. Well, I looked up those types of radio stations here in the Tampa Bay area and found Maxima, Roomba, Hot 101.5, 95.7 The Beat, and 93.3 WFLZ, to name a few. As far as television, I discovered there's the Black News Channel that comes out of Tallahassee. It's a 24-hour news station that services the Black community. According to Statista.com, Fox was the most watched and supported broadcast or cable network among adults aged 18 to 49 across the nation. Fox. Fox is like the public media's nemesis. So I'm not sure how that's going to go over with the boss or the general manager. But NBC and ABC came in second and third. So now that I know who the millennials and the BIPOC communities watch and listen to, it's time to reach out to them with my message. How am I going to do that? Well, you can write a press release. There's lots of generic ones that you can find Googling online. You can contact the journalists at those TV and radio stations to do an interview or to pitch your story idea to them to see if they'll pick it up. You can do special events such as community cleanups or a cookout for, I thought, maybe the USF students. You can also do a speech. So here I am. Thank you again, Toastmasters. Doing a speech to get your message out there. Another way to get another vehicle is to create a social media campaign to push out via Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Snapchat for each of the radio station brands, and then let our followers push it out to people they know organically. So now we're ready for step number 4, which is evaluate. Evaluate. So before implementing, take note of the current numbers as a baseline. Then as the strategy is being implemented during the promotions, the strategic community outreach events, you track your inquiries that you received, the mentions made, and the new members that you've required. Once the strategy is complete, compare these numbers to the ones from before to determine how effective your PR strategy was. So in conclusion, implementing a public relations strategy is simple. There's 4 steps that you can follow for your success. 1 is to know your objective. 2, define the message and the audience. 3, disseminate the message. And 4, evaluate your efforts. Toastmaster?
Thank you, Mr. General Evaluator, and most thank you to Alissa. Alissa had a masterclass here. This is a level 4 speech, so we know that she's learning a lot and moving along in her journey. But what did she do well? There are so many things. Let me just enumerate some of them. First, she used body gestures in her hands in particular and counted off different points that she was making. That brought our attention to the fact that in this informational speech, there were some points to think about, and she identified it at the beginning and repeated it at the end, that there were 4 points that she was concerned with. We had the opportunity to have observation of not only the gestures of the hand, but of her face. When she came and delivered things during her speech, you saw her face was happy and excited, and her eyes, and she was well positioned within her frame. You were able to really see what was going on. And that brings us to the effective use of engagement. Alissa asked questions right from the beginning. She was involving you in her process. As Steve Jobs used to say when he gave his keynote, you always want to have a story. You want to have a hero, a villain, and a success of the villain losing as you succeed. And she gave us that story. She was trying to solve a problem of demographic listeners for her radio station. The evil was, why are they not coming to us? And she had to battle that evil. She used word pictures. Most importantly, she had not only good vocal variety, but she used pacing, pausing, and pitch, the 3 Ps, to her effect. I think that, as I said before, she was very good because she was able to wrap it up. She opened up what the problem was that she was going to address in an informational, structured speech that was very logical in its presentation. And at the end, she was able to repeat that and bring you along in the story. How would I make improvements? This was hard. Use great language. Your voice had great vocal dynamic range. You use the 3 Ps effectively. Use gestures to improve and augment the speech. You did talk about the challenge with jazz and classical, and you left us to think about it. And that's where we were left off, wanting to hear more, wanting to hear what solutions you come up with and what were the outcomes of those solutions. So we can't wait to hear your next speech, Alissa. Mr. General Evaluator.